Greetings! Mantare79 here, and welcome back to another deck profile video for the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game. And now in today's video, the deck profile I'm going to be making one for is a V standard formats. Kagero's Dragon Monk Goku with Fire Age Dragon. Alrighty, let's begin. And now, first up, the Grade 0 lineup. For the Grade 0s in this deck, we are playing 1. Grade 0, Lizard Soldier Conroe. The Grade 0, Lizard Soldier Conroe, starting unit. Skill, Auto. When rolled upon, draw a card. Then, if your opponent's Vanguard is Grade 1 or greater, put a Quick Shield ticket into your hand. So, for Lizard Soldier Conroe, he's the starting unit of this deck. Like any other starting unit in the V standard format, it features the same skill and activation. When written on top of, you get to draw a card. Then, if you're the second to rise to Grade 1, you can add a Quick Shield to your hand, which can serve as a potential 5,000 point shield. And with that, we've just about covered the deck's Grade 0 lineup. Next, let's get on with the deck's Grade 1 lineup. And now, for the deck's Grade 1 lineup. For the Grade 1s in this deck, we are playing 3. Grade 1, Lava Flow Dragon. 3. Grade 1, Dragon Knight He-Shot. 4. Grade 1, Flame of Hope Airmo. And 2. Grade 1, Lizard Soldier Ralpia. The Grade 1, Lava Flow Dragon. Skills, first skill, continuous as a Vanguard or Rear Guard during your turn. If you have more Rear Guards than your opponent, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. Second skill, Auto as a Vanguard or Rear Guard. When placed from hand, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Grade 3 from among them, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you put a card into your hand, discard a card. So, for Lava Flow Dragon, it's a pretty good Grade 1 to play in your Kagero decks with skill, the first skill. As long as the conditions of the first skill are met, your Lava Flow then can serve as a potential 13,000 point attacker for your front row, or a 13,000 point booster for your back row. Any second skill, when written or called, you can check the top cards of your deck to search for a Grade 3 to either to ride with or to secure for your later game strategy. The Grade 1, Dragon Knight He-Shot. Skills, first skill, Auto as a Rear Guard. When placed, cost, Counter Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If the cost and paid, draw a card. Choose one of your opponent's back row Rear Guards and retire it. Second skill, Auto. When rolled upon, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Grade 3 or greater card from among them, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So for He-Shot, another good Grade 1 to play in your Kagero decks with its skill, the first skill. When called to the Rear Guard and paying the cost, not only do you get to draw more cards to restock your hand with, but you can also wipe out a Rear Guard on your opponent's back row, thus clearing up their field to give you a better advantage. Any second skill, when you ride on top of your Vanguard Dragon Knight He-Shot, you have the chance to look at the top 5 cards of your deck to search for a Grade 3 to ride with later or to secure for your later game strategy. The Grade 1, Flame of Hope Airmo. Skills, first skill, continuous as a Rear Guard. During the battle that it boosted, this unit gets plus 3,000 power. Second skill, Auto as a Rear Guard. When your opponent's Rear Guards retire during your turn, cost, retire this unit. If the cost and paid, draw a card and countercharge 1. So for Airmo, another good Grade 1 to play in your Kagero decks with its skills, the first skill. When boosting, your Airmo then can serve as a potential 11,000 point booster for the back row. And the second skill, when the conditions of the second skill are met, you pay the cost. Not only do you get to draw more cards to restock your hand with, but you can also refund your counterblast for later skills. The Grade 1, Lizard Soldier Ralpia. Skill, Auto as a Vanguard or Rear Guard. When your opponent's Rear Guards retire during your turn, this unit gets plus 5,000 power until end of turn. So for Ralpia, another good Grade 1 to play in your Kagero decks with skill. When the conditions of the skill are met, when you retire an opponent's Rear Guard during your turn, you can then give plus 5,000 power to Ralpia. And the best part about the skill, it's stackable. If you play a deck that specializes in retiring multiple rear guards in your opponent's field, for every rear guard retired, you can continue stacking power to your Raopia, making Lizard Soldier Raopia a very powerful potential front row attacker or back row booster. And with that, we just about covered the deck's Great 1 lineup. Next, let's get on to the deck's Great 2 lineup. And now, for the Great 2 lineup. For the Great 2s in this deck, we are playing 4 Great 2 Burning Horn Dragon, 3 Great 2 Torque Cannon Dragon, 3 Great 2 Break Breath Dragon, and 2 Great 2 Bellicosity Dragon. The Great 2 Burning Horn Dragon. Skills: first skill, continuous from the hand. When you would discard this card, you may discard it as a Great 3. Second skill, auto. When this card is discarded during your turn, if your Vanguard is Great 3 or greater, cost Soul Blast 1. If the cost is paid, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So for Burning Horn Dragon, a pretty good Great 2 to play in your Kagero decks with its skill, the first skill. When you would discard this card from your hand, it is treated as a Great 3 instead, so any skills that require you to discard a Great 3 from your hand, Burning Horn Dragon then can serve as a substitute for those skills. And the second skill, when you would discard Burning Horn Dragon from your hand during your turn, as long as the conditions of the skill are met and you pay the cost, you can then retire one of your opponent's rear guards, thus granting you a better advantage to the game by clearing out your opponent's field. The Great 2 Torque Cannon Dragon. Skill: action as a Vanguard or rear guard, once per turn. Cost: counterblast 1 and put a normal unit from your drop zone into the bottom of your deck. If the cost is paid, choose one of your opponent's Great 2 or less rear guards and retire it. If your hand has 4 or less cards, draw a card. So for Torque Cannon, another good Great 2 to play in your Kagero decks with its skill. When the cost is paid, not only do you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards to give you a better advantage, but also, as long as the secondary condition of this skill is met, you can then draw more cards to restock your hand with. The Great 2 Break Breath Dragon. Skills: first skill, auto as a rear guard. At the end of the battle, it attacked. If your opponent's rear guards retired during this turn, cost: retire this unit. If the cost is paid, draw a card. Second skill, auto. When rolled upon, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. If you do not retire it, draw a card. So for Break Breath Dragon, another good Great 2 to play in your Kagero decks with its skills. The first skill, after your rear guard Break Breath Dragon attacks, if the conditions of its skill are met and you pay the cost, you can then draw more cards to restock your hand with. And the second skill, when you ride on top of your Vanguard Break Breath Dragon, you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards, and in the off chance you fail to retire any rear guards with this second skill, you can instead draw one card to restock your hand with. The Great 2 Bellicosity Dragon. Skill: auto as a Vanguard or rear guard. When your opponent's rear guards retired during your turn, this unit gets plus 5,000 power until end of turn. So for Bellicosity Dragon, another good Great 2 to play in your Kagero decks with skill. Whenever a rear guard on your opponent's field is retired, you can then give plus 5,000 power to Bellicosity Dragon. And the best part of the skill, it's stackable. If you play a deck that specializes in retiring multiple rear guards from your opponent's field, for every time you retire a rear guard, you can continue stacking power to Bellicosity Dragon, making him a very powerful front row attacker to either to pressure or finish off your opponent with. And with that, we just about covered the deck's Great 2 lineup. Next, let's get on to the deck's Great 3 lineup. And now, for the Great 3 lineup. For the Great 3s of this deck, we are playing 4 Great 3 Dragon Monk Goku, 3 Great 3 Fire Rage Dragon, and 2 Great 3 Vortex Dragon. The Great 3 Dragon Monk Goku. Skills: first skill, action as a Vanguard once per turn. Cost: counterblast 1 and discard a Great 3 card from your hand. If the cost and paid, this unit gets drive +1 until end of turn. Second skill, Auto as a Vanguard. At the end of battle, this unit attacked. Cost, Counterblast 1. If the cost and paid, perform all of the following according to the grades of all the normal units revealed in this battle's drive check. Grade 3, choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards and retire them. Grade 2, choose one of your own rear guards and stand it. Grade 1, choose one of your own rear guards and it gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. So for Dragon Monk Goku, it's one of the main grade 3s to ride this deck. Skill, first skill. By paying the cost, you can then give your Vanguard an additional drive check, giving you the increased possibility of either getting triggers or to simply restock your hand with the increased drive checks. And the second skill, after attacking, by paying the cost, you can choose to activate one of or all of the effects made available depending on what normal units you drive check during this unit's battle. If you reveal a grade 3, you can retire 2 of your opponent's rear guards. If you revealed a grade 2, you can restand a rear guard on your own field. And if you revealed a grade 1 on your field, grade 1 rear guard on your field gets plus 10,000 power. So for the second skill of Goku, it's a good way to not only clear out your opponent's field, but also give you another attack to work with, and also empower your remaining attackers on the rear guard to give you a better chance of either pressuring or finishing off your opponent with. The grade 3, Fire Rage Dragon. Skills, Auto, as a Vanguard or rear guard. When placed, cost, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If the cost and paid, put the top card of your deck into the drop zone. Choose the same number of your opponent's rear guards as the grade of that card and retire them. If you did not retire any units, this unit gets +1 critical until end of turn. So for Fire Rage Dragon, it's one of the other main grade 3s to play in this deck. Its skill, when written or called, by paying the cost, by sending the top card of your deck to the drop zone, you can then retire a number of rear guards from your opponent's field depending on the grade of the discarded card. And then, in the off chance you do not retire any rear guards of this unit's skill, you can instead give +1 critical to Fire Rage Dragon. So for Fire Rage Dragon, its skill, you can have a good chance to either to clear your opponent's field or to give yourself a powerful attacker to work with in the front row. The grade 3, Vortex Dragon. Skills, first skill, action as a Vanguard, once per turn. Cost, Counterblast 2. If the cost and paid, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. And if you have 5 cards in your damage zone, discard all cards from your hand and retire all of your opponent's rear guards. Second skill, Auto as a Vanguard or rear guard. When your opponent's rear guards retire during your turn, this unit gets plus 5,000 power until end of turn. So for Vortex Dragon, another one of the main grade 3s to play in this deck, its skill is the first skill. By paying the cost, not only do you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards, but as long as the secondary condition of this first skill is met, you can also pay an additional cost to then retire your remaining rear guards in your opponent's field, giving you a good chance to clear your opponent's field to give you a better advantage later in the turn or later in the game. Any second skill, as long as the conditions of the second skill are met, for every time a rear guard is retired, you can then give plus 5,000 power to your Vortex Dragon. So this second skill is a good way to make your Vortex Dragon a powerful front row attacker to either to pressure or finish off your opponent with. And at that, we just about covered the deck's trigger grade 3 lineup. Next, let's get on to the trigger lineup. And now, for the trigger lineup. For the triggers of this deck, we are playing 4. Grade 0, Angry Horn Dragon, critical trigger. 2. Grade 0, Embodiment of Spear, Tar, critical trigger. 2. Grade 0, Dragon Knight Janat, critical trigger. 2. Grade 0, Wyvern Guard Bari, draw trigger. 2. Grade 0, Toxify Light Dragon, draw trigger. And 4. Grade 3, Dragon Dancer Nastasia, heal trigger. The Grade 0, Dragon Knight Janat, critical trigger, Sentinel. Skill, Continuous Sentinel. You may only have up to 4 cards of Continuous Sentinel in the deck. So for Dragon Knight Janat, he's one of the Sentinels for the Kagero clan's V standard format. Like any other Sentinel, he's a powerful defensive card. For Janat's case, he alone can serve as a potential 30,000 point shield on his own. The Grade 0 Wyvern Guard Bari, Draw Trigger, Sentinel, Perfect Guard. Skills, first skill, Continuous Sentinel. You may only have up to 4 cards of Continuous Sentinel in a deck. Second skill, Auto. As a Guardian, when placed, cost, discard a card from your hand. If the cost and paid, one of your units cannot be hit until end of battle. So for Bari, he's a perfect guard for the Kagero clan's V standard format. Like any other perfect guard in the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game, it features the same skill and activation. When used to guard with and discarding 1 card from your hand, you can block 1 enemy attack. The Grade 3 Dragon Dancer Nastasha, Heal Trigger, Heal Guardian. Skills, first skill, Auto. When this unit is put on the Guardian circle from hand, if you did not ride a Grade 3 or greater unit during this fight, perform one of the following. First effect, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. Second effect, choose one of your opponents and it gets -2 critical until end of battle. Second skill, Auto. When this unit is placed on the rear guard from hand, if your damage zone has no cards, put the top card of your deck into the damage zone. So for Nastasha, it's one of the heal guardians for the Kagero clan. And for skills, the first skill, when you would guard with Nastasha before riding to Grade 3, you can activate one of 2 powerful defensive effects. For the first effect, your Vanguard gets plus 10,000 power for the end of the turn until end of turn. So for this first effect, it's a good way to stop your opponent from rushing you too early by attacking you with a large number of attacks during the early phase of the fight. And the second effect, just like the first effect, it's a defensive skill. It can reduce your opponent's attacking unit by 2 criticals, thus making it easier to hold back any heavy damage early in the game from opponents who manage to hit you with high critical attacks early. And the second skill, its skill is used when you call it from hand to rear guard. From hand to rear guard, then if you have no cards in the damage zone, you can place the top card of the deck face up on the damage zone. This way, it's a good counter to use against the opponents who play the damage denial strategy. The damage denial strategy is when your opponents prevent you from using your skills by not making you have any counterblast ready by not attacking you, giving you no cards in the damage zone. With Nastasha's skill, you can then more or less work around the annoyance of the damage denial strategy, giving you at least 1 counterblast to work with. And of that, we just about covered the deck's trigger lineup. For the triggers of this deck, we are playing 8 critical triggers, 4 draw triggers, and 4 heal triggers. And now, after having just explained the deck's build and card effects, next, let's get on to explain the deck's main playstyle. So for the main playstyle of this deck, first you just ride from your right line normally from Grade 0, 1, 2, and 3. For your Vanguard Grade 3, ride Dragon Monk Goku. And then for your rear guards, try to secure rear guards that let you retire an opponent's field, like perhaps Fire Rage Dragon and or Turret Cannon Dragon. And also put in onto your field some units that can help you benefit from retiring rear guards, like perhaps Bellicosity Dragon or Vortex Dragon and or Lizard Soldier Alpia and anything else. Then, for this field, just make sure you secure Fire Rage Dragon or Turret Cannon Dragon to retire rear guards. Maybe even benefit from Fire Rage Dragon's secondary effect of +1 critical to itself. Then, also have rear guards that benefit from having rear guards retire, like Bellicosity Dragon, Lizard Soldier Alpia, or Vortex Dragon, who get plus 5,000 power for every time you retire an opponent's rear guard. Then, in your main phase, try to activate Dragon Monk Goku's first skill, Counterblast 1, and discard a Grade 3 from your hand. Discard any Grade 3, or maybe substitute with Burning Horn Dragon. For Burning Horn Dragon's first skill can substitute for Grade 3s for discarding. Discard it. Then you can activate the first skill to +1 drive to your Dragon Monk Goku. And maybe even activate the second skill of Burning Horn Dragon, which is when discarded, pay a Soul Blast 1 to retire the rear guard. With that, you can then take more advantage with Vortex Dragon, Bellicosity Dragon, and or Lizard Soldier Alpia to again power up when you retire an opponent's rear guard. Then, in your battle phase, attack either a rear guard first or a Vanguard. Then use Dragon Monk Goku's skill to activate effects depending on what normal units you drive check with. If you drove check a Grade 1, maybe you can then give the plus 10,000 power to a remaining attacker. If you drove check a Grade 2, you can then restand one of your already attacked rear guards for another attack, giving you more attacks to pressure your opponent with. And then if you reveal a grade 3 in the drive check, you can then retire 2 of your opponent's rear guards, thus giving you more opportunities to take advantage of Vortex Dragon, Bellicosity Dragon, and or Lizard Soldier Alpia, powering them up further to give you more power to work with, making it easier to pressure or finish off your opponent with. And if that's pretty much the deck's main playstyle. First, right from grade 0 to 3, right, Goku is your main Vanguard. In your field, secure rear guards that retire your opponent's field, like Fire Rage Dragon or Torrent Cannon Dragon. And then if you use Fire Rage Dragon, maybe you can even make use of its secondary condition effect, which is to +1 critical if no rear guards are retired by Fire Rage Dragon skill. Then for the remaining circles in your field, try to secure rear guards who benefit from having your opponent's field wiped out, like again, Ralpia, Bellicosity, or Vortex Dragon. Making use of all the skills available, retire your opponent's rear guards to clear up their field, giving you a better advantage. Then make use of these kinds of cards skill to power up every time, giving you more power to work with, giving you a better chance to finish off your opponent and winning the game. And if that, we just about covered the deck's main playstyle. And if that's just about all the time we have for today. First I want to say is, thank you to the viewers watching today's video, and to please stay tuned for more videos I plan to upload again in the near future. And I also hope you all show support by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to my videos and channel. And if that I say, goodbye and see you.